Today is Monday, August 25th, 2025. This is First Alert Weather Plus. Meteorologist Nicholas Snyder here. We're giving you a first alert to anything you need to know about on this episode of First Alert Weather Plus. And the main thing is the fall-like conditions that we're seeing over the area. It is feeling very, very nice over the region with temperatures that are back well into the 70s. It is feeling very, very nice. 50s for overnight lows for a lot of us. In some cases, we could reach down into the 40s. Pollen, though. Allergy sufferers are going to start feeling one specific type of pollen. That could be something that you'll need to know about. We'll talk more about that as well. And, of course, what we always do on First Alert Weather Plus, give you that rundown of the long-term forecast and what you can expect here. Here's why we're seeing all the very nice temperatures. It's a big old trough in the jet stream is what we call it, or this little dip right here. The cold front that came through yesterday, you can clearly see it. It's now well off the coast. Some of us got some storms from that cold front that came through yesterday, mainly over those eastern locations. Yesterday, if you were basically Barbersville and points east, you saw a little bit of a shower or even a brief rumble of thunder. Some locations saw some gusty winds out of some thunderstorms, too, up toward Grantsville, up toward Braxton County, places like that. But a lot of us didn't see a whole lot in terms of active weather yesterday. Big old area of low pressure, meanwhile, up to the north here. And, of course, we're seeing the northwesterly winds pushing in the cooler conditions and some drier conditions on into the area, hence why we're seeing the very fall-like weather that is overhead here. Current temperatures are feeling absolutely extraordinary. Right now, 78 in Huntington, 75 for us in downtown Charleston. We're at 70 for those of us in downtown Logan, 72 in Pikeville, 75 in Paintsville, 73 in Athens. And with the clear skies overnight tonight, it's going to be rather cool. Today's highs, 81 downtown Huntington, average temperature 85. We were 4 degrees below average. Charleston also hit 81, 4 degrees below average there as well. So, yeah, it felt very, very nice for your day today. Now, I mentioned again, those temperatures will start to drop overnight tonight. We fall back into the low 50s for a lot of us, some upper 40s. Look at that Paintsville low right there, 48 degrees. It's going to feel very, very nice. Upper 40s and lower 50s for places like Athens, for places like MacArthur up here, Jackson, Ohio, down toward the Pikeville area. It's feeling like fall. You may even need a hoodie as you're off and about to work or school for your day tomorrow. Speaking of going to school tomorrow, here's your zone-by-zone forecast. We're looking at those temperatures back into the middle and upper 70s, so there's some good news for you by the afternoon. But again, headed off and about, you'll need a hoodie. And we'll talk about your first day of school for some of us for your day tomorrow as well. But middle and upper 70s, southern Ohio, eastern Kentucky, partly cloudy skies with pretty calm winds, 5 to 10 miles an hour with those middle and upper 70s. Southern West Virginia, mid-70s. In eastern and central West Virginia, we're at 76 in Huntington, 76 in Charleston. Just absolutely beautiful. Look at that 66-degree high in Summersville. This is late August. Could you believe that? Yeah, it's feeling very, very nice over the region. And the Boyd County Lions, you're going back to school. At least some of you are going back to school tomorrow. I'll take myself off of there so you can see what exactly that temperature is going to be. 53 for the morning school bell here. Sunshiny skies and very chilly conditions. Again, you're going to need a hoodie as you're off and about getting ready to go to school. But those afternoon sports, not looking too bad here. 75, very, very nice conditions are to be expected over much of the entire area, thanks to this cold air mass that we are seeing overhead. So let's talk about what exactly we're going to be watching over the next 24 to 48 hours. I want you to notice this little kink right here, this little disturbance that we are seeing, and I'll highlight it for you right here. Very, very minor disturbance, and thanks to the cold air that's working on in, it's not going to be too huge of a deal, but with this, some rising air out ahead of it, thanks to some spin in the atmosphere, diverging air aloft created from that spin, we could see an isolated shower in parts of the region for your day tomorrow. But the big thing is how cool these temperatures are going to get just tomorrow night. We haven't even gotten to the coolest part of this air mass yet. That will be coming for your night tomorrow night. This blue area that you're seeing right in here is that thermal minimum we've been talking about that's coming behind that little disturbance that'll come through tomorrow. So meteorologist Hannah Hayes is going to help explain why it's going to get so much cooler thanks to this thermal minimum and also the clear skies and how that makes things cool.
This week, the 7-day forecast is filled with cool, clear nights. So let's talk about why these clearer nights are naturally cooler than the cloudy ones. After sunset, the ground begins to release the heat that it absorbed during the day as something called infrared radiation. When there are clouds in the sky during the overnight hours, the clouds trap heat as it radiates from the ground during the overnight hours. And that cloud sort of acts as a space heater since they radiate some of the heat back into the ground. And this process keeps the temperature from being able to fall too far, which naturally causes warmer overnight lows. The clouds also prevent any heat from escaping into the atmosphere, where the lower the cloud, the better at trapping the warmth. But when the sky is clear, there isn't anything to insulate the surface with. This is what causes the temperatures to fall pretty quickly, and sometimes that's why we have a huge temperature swing from the daytime highs to the overnight lows, because the lack of cloud cover is a lack of heat getting trapped, which allows the temperatures to fall lower than they would if the night was cloudy, since there is no heat radiating back down. The heat that radiates from the surface and goes into the atmosphere on these clear nights is called radiational cooling. So this week, just enjoy the clear nights and the nicer, cooler morning temperatures.
And I thought I wouldn't have to use that story until the fall time, yet it's late August and we're talking about it. Yeah, those clear skies, the clouds act like a blanket. They kind of keep that energy that comes in from the sunshine overhead and in our atmosphere during the nighttime. And when you get the clear skies, all that energy that came in from the sun escapes right back out into space, and you're going to be talking about those temperatures that will fall back quite a bit, back into the middle and upper 30s. So let's talk about now our pollen report, because some of us are sneezing and wheezing out there. I'm one of the lucky few, by the way, who does not have allergies. But for a lot of you guys, you've been dealing with some grass pollen, as has been the case for much of, let's say, the earlier part of the summer. But now those ragweeds are really getting up there, and that's when things are going to start to kind of increase and deteriorate for a lot of us in terms of adverse pollen conditions that we could be seeing. Now, the mold not getting here for a little bit longer. That's toward the latter half of the fall when we start to get some mold underneath the wet fallen leaves and things of that nature. But it's certainly something that we're watching, this pollen count. And again, we're toward that moderate to high level for ragweed already. And so here's what we could be expecting. Again, this is what we're talking about in terms of when pollen season comes. I'll take myself off the screen so you can see. Like I mentioned, trees and grass pollen is earlier on. Grass is toward the middle of the pollen season, but trees especially earlier on. Tree pollen starts in March, at least peak season of that, lasts through about May. Again, this is peak season for that tree pollen. For the grass pollen, kind of starts peak season in May, ends peak season in July. We're toward the end of that peak season now for that grass pollen. That ragweed, though, we're right in the middle of that peak season for pollen. And that's why if you're having those ragweed allergies, you're really suffering right now from sneezing and wheezing. Tony wanted to talk about this week, and he has more on what we're expecting in terms of that ragweed and what you can do to control it.
Less than a week before Labor Day, so you know ragweed pollen season is here. Don't let anybody ever tell you there's a such thing as a good ragweed season. Last year during the drought season, they tend to be the seasons that have the worst ragweed pollen. I've got a little ragweed outside on our studio. This is our parking lot, and you can see it's withered. It's gone from green to brown, and as I shake it, it's putting out pollen. So get ready to wheeze and sneeze. Any day between now and the end of September that's warm, hazy, and dry, especially after a rain, will be prime candidate for a lot of ragweed. We've got an empty lot across from our studio, and ragweed is flourishing on any empty, unkept lot. But I'm going to take you to a hot spot on the south side of town where you're going to be amazed at how tall the ragweed grows and how much ragweed pollen the plants put out. Now we're here on the south side of Huntington, where railroad yards are notorious havens for ragweed. The giant ragweed can grow as high as 4 and 5 feet tall. And during the months of August and September, this plant alone will put out millions of grains of ragweed pollen. Now, as we survey the railroad yard, ragweed and its pollen-producing cousins are at work every day until we get a good cool spell in late September. They'll be putting out plenty of ragweed pollen. So as you know, I've been hawking and tracking the ragweed pollen count here in Appalachia for the better part of 35 years. And one thing that is assured as you get to the end of August and September, when you get cool weather with sunshine coming in, the cool overnight lows in the 50s send the ragweed pollen into a frenzy. And so the hay fever report on the week leading up to Labor Day is pretty simple. Ragweed pollen counts will go sky high perhaps the highest we see all season long, although we will go well into September. So this may be the first of several surges of ragweed pollen. It's being introduced by the cooler weather that's coming in to break the summer-long heat wave and to introduce some very comfortable weather as we get into the last of August and heading into the 1st of September. We'll keep you posted on ragweed all the time here at WSAZ.
Yeah, and Tony, again, a lot of us just not enjoying this allergy season so far, especially earlier on when we had all that rain. The trees and the grass was just really going pretty crazy. So luckily things are calming down in terms of the rain, but ragweeds, in fact, do like some drier weather. So that's unfortunate in terms of that, because we do have a lot of drier weather on the way. This little disturbance that I showed you a little bit earlier on the show, while yes, right in here you will get some upward motion thanks to that diverging air and air kind of wanting to fill the void in there, it's not going to do a whole lot because we have a lot of cold air working in, like I said, and that cold air likes to sink. So we're not going to be seeing a whole lot of rain, at least in the next 48 hours. Now let's pause on Friday. Here's another little disturbance that wants to come on through right here. I'll highlight that little kink in the winds you see right there, and of course the maximum wind speed right in here. Unfortunately, where this is coming from further to the north and west is not a really source of high moisture. It's a continental air mass. So what we're going to be seeing from that is not really the most ideal things in terms of good rain chances here. It's actually going to be fairly dry for the time being here. So even though we could see a little bit of rain on Friday, it's really not going to help us in terms of any good soaking rains for those gardeners out there, even for the farmers. I know we do need more of that rain. It's kind of a flash drought, if you will. Now, not everyone is seeing drought conditions. We have not seen drought conditions, in fact, all summer because of the rain that has really moved its way on into the area. However, this dry pattern keeps up. We could be seeing and could be talking about some more drought conditions, not quite like what we had last summer, but certainly something we'll have to watch going into the actual dry season, which is already September and October. So bad news for that. Meanwhile, Lewis County, Kentucky has a burn ban in place, so we know it's starting to get fairly dry out there. Just abnormally dry for now, no drought conditions, but we'll have to see on Thursday. It's likely that we're going to get pretty darn close to some drought conditions here. We'll get a break in the activity. In fact, for the weekend, it's going to be absolutely extraordinary. You see the convergence of wind right here coming down from the north here, coming in from the west here. So we're going to get some high pressure overhead, and notice the flow here is coming out of the north, so we're still staying very, very comfortable for the weekend. No humidity, no heat to talk about. Ohio State's got a huge game against Texas on Saturday, and if you do have any plans to watch that game, barbecues, tailgates, anything like that, it's going to be very pleasant weather. In fact, it's going to feel like football weather on Saturday. And yes, while we do have that system coming in on Friday, I know a lot of kids are worried about football Friday night. I don't think we're going to be seeing any sort of rain to damper the plans. So the good news is the lack of rain, again, kind of helps with those outdoor plants. The bad news is it doesn't help with the gardens, with the farmers, or anything like that. So it's kind of a twofold thing that we're watching here. I'll clear this off for you. Let's go beyond Sunday and go into next week. I want you to notice a little disturbance right in here. This little kink in the wind right here, where it kind of turns to the south, back up here, diverges out. Could create a little tiny area of low pressure, maybe a chance of some rain on Monday, especially in the higher elevation terrain right in here where you see the little kink. But overall, again, we're not seeing a whole lot of really active weather coming in from the Pacific Ocean, which would provide us with a lot of moisture, or the Gulf that would provide us with a lot of moisture. So really just unfortunate timing for this, and it does look like a flash drought could be a possibility, especially as we head into the first week of September. As we go beyond here, I want you to notice the pattern stays relatively nice and calm, and not talking about a whole lot of hot temperatures. In fact, this is cooler air once again up here toward Monusi, Canada, Winnipeg, Canada, that will try to push down here again as well as we head into the end of next week. So this pattern of cooler air looks to be sticking around. Now, I don't think we're going to get quite as cool as what we're going to be tomorrow for the time being. I think a good shot at mid-80s will be a possibility, especially toward the end of the weekend and beginning of next week, but still no 90s to be seen anytime soon. Let's talk about the moisture. Again, the highest dew points, remember those dew points are a measure, I should say, of how much moisture is in the air. The warmer that dew point, the more moisture there is in the air. 55-degree dew point is really not going to cut it for any widespread soaking rains. And so Friday, yes, there is a cold front coming through. There's just not a whole lot of humidity in our air to lift up and over that cold front to produce precipitation. When you have those dew points in the 50s and the 40s, it's going to be really hard to produce a widespread rain. So just sprinkles here and there. It's unfortunate, I know, for a lot of us who need that rain desperately, especially in Lewis County, Kentucky, where they do have that burn ban. We're still staying dry as we head into next week. We could try to creep that humidity up just a little bit as we head into the start of next week here as well. Let's talk about the American model. That was the European model we were showing you. A similar sight to see on the American model. This pushes in that system a little bit earlier on Thursday, but it's still the same general time frame. Thursday night, Friday morning, into Friday evening. We could see a few sprinkles here or there. That's really about it. Going into the weekend, again, we get that calmer pattern, that high pressure trying to build on in just in time for football on Saturday. NFL does start not this weekend, but next weekend. But still, we're looking A-OK for Saturday college football. And I know that stopped on Sunday, but Saturday college football looks good as well. The American model, not too bullish on us getting any sort of activity. In fact, it warms us up as we head into the middle of next week before that next cool down does come. And believe me, the American model does want to bring in that cool down as well. So there is good news. Again, if you're not a hot weather lover, doesn't really look to be the case that we're going to be seeing any sort of extended period of 90-degree weather, at least in the next, let's say, 10 days or so. So that is a relief for sure, I know, for a lot of us, because we dealt with that all summer. American model, much like the European model, not really giving us a whole lot of moisture here. We're in the mid-50s, so it's unfortunate. Again, we're just not going to be seeing a whole lot for these cold fronts, these weak little cold fronts, to lift this moisture up to produce precipitation. There's just not enough moisture in the air to give us a good widespread soaking rain. So, for instance, Friday, not looking likely. Now, the American model, keeping us on the cooler side of things, or rather the warmer side of things, does try to bring back some humidity, but still, dew points 40s, 50s, very, very dry, especially for this time of year. So it's not looking likely that we're going to be seeing any sort of relief from the lack of rain anytime soon. The only sort of relief will come Friday, and again, this is the European model with that cold front. This is really, really light rain we're talking about here. This is going to be very hit or miss, very scattered. Not really going to cause an issue for a lot of us, but also not really going to help the drought situation. So it is unfortunate, again, that we will be having to watch for some drier conditions and perhaps a flash drought. You didn't think you'd be talking about a drought this year, especially after the drought conditions that we saw last year, but here we are once again in a drier end of summer, and we'll have to see as we go into the dry season. There's that next system the European model was trying to hint at on Monday. Again, just widely scattered, high elevation sprinkles here or there, and that's really going to be about it. Nothing too huge of a deal. So nothing really that's jumping off the page for us in terms of ending the drier pattern. Cooler pattern looks to be sticking around. Let's pause here. Again, this is Wednesday. I want you to notice what the polar vortex is doing. It's kind of a breakup of this. We see a nudge of warm air up here into northern portions of Europe, just to the east of Greenland here. We're seeing a protrusion of the polar vortex down here into Siberia, portions of Alaska. We got this northerly push of some warm air up here into Canada, up here into the western United States, which is allowing some of this cool air to filter down. But the North Atlantic oscillation out here, out toward Greenland, I should say, is still rather present, still rather strong. And so until we get that warmer air down here to push itself up into this general area, we're still going to be seeing some not as cool conditions trying to move their way on in. And we're going to definitely see a re-strengthening of this up here. The polar vortex certainly will want to do that. And I'll show you what happens here. We'll start to warm you up again toward the weekend. And notice how strong that polar vortex gets. The one caveat is a nudge up of some warmer air into southern Alaska into the eastern Pacific. That is what we call a negative eastern Pacific oscillation, and that is what's going to keep us at least on the cooler-ish side of things. It's still going to warm up as we head a little bit into the weekend, but it's not going to get us back into the 90s anytime soon. So there's some good news for you right there. Let's keep moving this forward. Again, we're going to see that downward protrusion of that cooler air once we start to see really this part of Alaska start to warm on up. And notice the polar vortex wants to come its way down toward the Hudson Bay, down toward far southern Ontario, and that's what's going to allow us to maybe cool down for the end of next week and into next weekend. Closer view at the United States, again, a brief warm-up as we head into the weekend, beginning of next week, and then it looks like towards the end of next week is when we could see another cool down, bringing in some fall-like weather. Unfortunately, again, when these systems come in from the north, you're talking about really dry systems, not a whole lot of rain and not a whole lot of moisture to work with to give us any good sort of types of activity that would bring in some better conditions for some drought relief that could move on in. 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. This is from the Climate Prediction Center. They're indicating cooler than normal temperatures from days 6 to 10. Again, this would indicate Sunday really through next Wednesday, next Thursday or so. I do think we will warm you up around Sunday, Monday, but still mid-80s. It's not going to be too hot. In fact, that's right around where we should be for this time of year. And yes, unfortunately, we are drier than normal. First time I've shown you that map all year round, and really same thing for the temperatures. We are going to be drier than normal over days 6 through 10. So not a whole lot of rain to talk about. And yes, flash drought concerns are going to be a possibility. Expect more burn bans to be in place if this does continue as well. Super 7-day forecast for you. We are talking about temperatures still into the 70s. Overnight lows, by the way, getting back into the 40s and 50s. I mentioned tomorrow morning lower and middle 50s. Look at some widespread upper 40s and lower 50s. That could be a possibility here on Tuesday morning. Yeah, definitely going to be chilly. So again, those hoodies will definitely be needed if you're on the bus, if you're going to work on Tuesday, Wednesday, and even Thursday mornings here. By Friday, again, hit or miss showers. I already showed you this futurecast, but again, it just really highlights how really widely scattered this activity is going to be. Not going to be a widespread soaking rain. Not really going to help the drought situation that will be overhead. And by Labor Day, look at this. Not too bad. 84 degrees, lots of sunshine here. If you are lucky enough to have Labor Day off, you should enjoy it. It's going to be a great day weather-wise, and you should get out and about and enjoy the wonderful weather that is headed our way for your long weekend. This is First Alert Weather Plus. We air every Monday, 6:45 p.m., give you the latest on what you need to know and give you a first alert. And, of course, we go in depth onto why the weather is the way it is. We'll continue to talk about a drier trend, hopefully some rain a little bit later on down the line here as we head into the week following next week, although next week still does look rather dry here. Be sure to follow each of us on Facebook. Tony Cavalier is Tony Cavalier on Facebook. Hannah Hayes is meteorologist Hannah Hayes on Facebook. I'm meteorologist Nicholas Snyder on Facebook. And Dylan is Dylan Goday Weather on Facebook. And, of course, watch our YouTube channel, the First Alert Weather Plus YouTube channel. Just search WSAZ First Alert Weather Plus. It'll come up. We post exclusive content, including the Wednesday Weather Lab, and we're working on more content for that page for you as well, including potentially a 24/7 weather channel for you to watch. So definitely subscribe to that. Like this video. This will be up the day after this is posted on WSAZ.com. You can always go back and watch on WSAZ.com, or you can find, again, the WSAZ First Alert Weather Plus channel on YouTube. And again, be sure to subscribe and like to that if you enjoy this kind of content. In the meantime, I'm meteorologist Nicholas Snyder. Make it a great Monday.